Hello everybody, welcome to yet again another informative video by yours truly, Time 903. Well, technically this isn't an informative video. As you all know, for the past few episodes I've been talking a lot about the game Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates of Infinity. And so I thought, what's the best way of ending it? By throwing in my 2 cents. That's right. I'm going to give this game a full review. But first off, before I do, let me just make one thing clear. This is my first review of a game. But I don't think it really should matter. So, if anything doesn't sound professional, well, that's probably why. Anyway, those of you who are still here, let's get on with it. Well, to be honest, Pokemon Gates of Infinity, it's definitely the most unique in the series. Unique in a lot of ways. Well, first off being that it doesn't have the personality test, and instead you just choose your own Pokemon. Which at first I thought was kind of a bad idea because, now, what was their main logo again for, talking about the game? Oh, now I remember. Discover your inner Pokemon. That's right. So, and it kind of goes against that, but how many of us have actually reset the game so many times to get the one you wanted? Yeah, that's what I thought. But anyway, the game also has a lot more mini games, and the graphics are just insane. But yeah. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. Now, one thing I've noticed is, as much good things this game has, it also has its share of flaws. And I made a list, so, well, let's talk about them. First, let's talk about the things that are good about the game. First off, well, just like all Mystery Dungeon games, the story is just great. In fact, in my opinion, it's actually the most realistic. Because unlike most of them that are pretty, well, some of them are a little over the top, especially Explorers, this one actually feels the most, well, personal. Because, well, instead of actually talking about a disaster, it's actually saying that the world is being brought into chaos by people's negative emotions, which actually physically turn into a physical form and is destroying the entire world. And the way I think that's actually most realistic is because, well, the thing it forms into is called the bitter cold. But in a way, if you think about it, the whole world and people's negative emotions with all the tragedies and crime and basically everything under the sun that's going wrong in this world, I guess in a way is a manifestation of the real bitter cold. So I guess in a way it actually does seem to exist. Alright, now I know I've probably got a little philosophical there, but what are you gonna do? Next up, now, the next one another advantage is, of course, the music. In fact, just like this, it goes with the story, they took a lot of elements of both Explorers and the original Blue and Red Rescue Teams in both the story, and they also put some of the music back in this game that was from both series. And I think that was actually pretty cool. As well as giving it some new music. And they work. And in my opinion, for once, the original the town's music doesn't sound obnoxious. Now I probably lost a couple of viewers because of that. But Yeah, sometimes it might sound good at first, but after the first 1,000 times, it can get annoying after a while. Oh, brother, I probably lost about half my... Yeah. Another pro in this game is the characters. This game, they actually gave the characters a lot of depth. And that's just one or two. A lot of them have main personalities. And they do have their real share of funny moments. Especially towards the rising actions in the game. And that's actually pretty cool. Another good thing is the amount of plot twists. Just like Explorers, this thing has a few major plot twists that really, really work. And that really works. So, plot twists are another one. Another cool thing is what they've done, the dungeons themselves. Well, man, I may have to break this up into 2 videos. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. Anyway, well, for one thing, the graphics. The graphics, well, I know it's on the 3DS, but the graphics are just insane. In fact, the way I see it, Mystery Dungeon needed a graphical update a long time ago. I'm not saying the artwork wasn't great, because, well, in my opinion, it's inspired probably, what, a good 100,000 different pieces of artwork on DeviantArt and a bunch of art sites? That's saying something. But the graphics are really good, and the dungeons look very, very well done. Another thing they've added that's kind of cool is both the controls. So, the controls are a lot more simple. All you have to do to launch an attack, just press R, and that brings up the attacks in the form of the keypad, like X, Y, A, and B. So you just hold down R and then pick one, and that launches the attack. Pretty simple. They're a lot better than going to menu, press attack, and then choose the attack, and it's a lot better. A cool thing they added was the team attack. Now, to be honest, I don't understand this completely, but basically what I've gotten the gist of, the team attack basically is throughout the dungeon, your minds, you and the players, or the team, kind of, their minds, well, how should I put this? They synchronize, and then a little later in the game, you're able to launch one attack, which becomes more powerful the more team members you have in the dungeon. And this thing just annihilates everything on the field. Very handy for monster houses, and that's for damn sure. And oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Another thing they've added is kind of cool, is they've actually made so you can share experience points as well as attacks. Now, the way this works is kind of interesting. As you know, throughout the game, in order for you to level up extra team members, you had to bring them in the dungeon, and then they would do that. Then you have to level up everyone. Kind of annoying. Well, what this one does is it's kind of interesting. What it does is it makes it so that you, oh, how should I put this? They make it so that the experience is actually shared throughout the entire team, even those who are not in the dungeon. And that's real cool. It's the same with the attacks. In fact, as you all know, to level up an attack, you had to give ginseng umpteen times to make it stronger. Well, they've actually fixed that too. You see, what happens is they make it so it's called share attack. Now, the way this works is if you keep using an attack, it'll gradually get stronger. And if it reaches a certain point, It'll become, like, for example, Thunderbolt will become Thunderbolt 1, Thunderbolt 2, etc., etc. And also, that gets carried on to another Pokemon. Like, for example, let's say if Pikachu knew Thunderbolt and Emolga knew Thunderbolt. If Pikachu got Thunderbolt when he's in a dungeon, leveled it up to Thunderbolt 1, then Emolga, who is outside of the dungeon, would also get that as well. So it's pretty much shared throughout the entire team, which is real handy when you have outrageously tough attacks like, say, Thunder or Dragon Breath, etc., etc. And yeah. Another thing they've kind of cool is they've also added interactions. They've made it so that instead of just advancing the next 4, you actually have to do some many strategy things, like trigger certain switches, or basically stuff like that. Now, in my opinion, I think this one kind of counts as good and bad. And this, they actually took out that whole feigning because you're hungry or that kind of crap. Now, normally you'd think that would be good. However, they've actually made that more difficult. You don't have to worry about the feigning, but any type of weather, even if it's like rain or snow or whatever, you will not increase your health points by walking. And if it's a deal that it basically be treated as Sandstorm, only without taking damage every turn. However, that kind of also exists with Sandstorm as well. So that's another problem. Okay. Now, moving on, let's talk about the things that are bad about this game. As I said before, there are only 5 starters, which makes choosing your team very, very limited, and that's a big problem. Because, I mean, even with Explorers of the Sky, they had, what, 13 different Pokemon to choose from? that really makes the game kind of limited about how many times you can play it. So that's a big problem, in my opinion. Another thing is speed. Now, in the games, the way it worked is the amount of speed that counts how many turns you could take. This one, they made it just so it's the same as a quick seed. It just increases your movement speed, which, in my opinion, causes more harm than good. So, yeah. And, to be honest, I don't know if this is fact or not. In fact, I'm starting to think it might be false, but you might not be able to recruit legendaries, because there hasn't been any situations I know of. Then again, I haven't really tried that, so I don't think that's true, but yeah. Another thing is, I've actually heard, this is one of the reasons I've been hearing so many crap about this game. The story is very short. It's probably people are saying, oh, the story is shortest in the series. Because in Explorers of Sky, they probably had, what, 9 checkpoints? That's what I call them. For chapters. Yeah, I think they're actually chapters. In this one, they only have about, I believe, 5. 5 or 6, I think it's 5. And that's kind of a problem. Now, and at least that's what I think, used to think. But, guys, let me fasten you on something. Or, fasten that. There's the thing that's pretty much known for my informant videos. Me getting tongue-tied. Anyway, let me tell you guys something about that. In my opinion, that title of shortest game goes to Blue. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. oh, but that game had probably about maybe, that game is probably the most because it has so many extra chapters. Just look at the menu. Guys, you guys, if you're thinking that, you're forgetting one thing. What, I don't actually count those because they are not directly involved with the story. The way I see it, those are side missions. Or actually, are side missions that happen to originate from the original story. It's not the same thing, so it's actually, but in my opinion, it's actually short but sweet. Plus, some of the stuff there are so tricky, you'll get hours of fun, and the minigames are so addicting. Even after you beat the story as well as the after game, you will not be bored. I can guarantee you that. But yeah. Also, one last thing. They've actually brought back the Paradise thing. Actually, or where you have to get land for for your team. Now, before you guys go ballistic over that, let me make one thing clear. It is not like Blue, where you had to purchase every single piece of land. The way this works is you're basically in this thing known as Paradise, which you increase the amount of land a certain Pokemon can take. Your amount of teams can take up when you run out of land, you have to purchase more, and etc., etc. But yeah, the game is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. So, what do I think of the game? Honest. Personally, I think this game is actually one of the strongest and also the most underrated of the series. It's very well done, very well written, and it has a lot of fun from beginning to end. In my opinion, IGN, what I read, they gave this game a 4.5. In my opinion, I think that was a mistake. Honestly, what I think of this game, I'll give it a 7.5. The game is great, the story is wonderful, and it is an all-round fun game. So, I highly recommend you buy it. If you love the original and the Explorers, you're not going to be disappointed. Well, that was a whirlwind. Well, this has been Time Down 3. Review of it. Of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Gates of Infinity. Until next time, everyone. Ciao for now.